Hardest part of a painting like this is not the bread or the flowers or even the handle. It's looking at everything together and not knowing where to begin. Hi, I'm Beatriz. Welcome back to the studio. Our painting today is busy. It has a lot of different elements. And in today's video, I wanted to show you the best order that we can make a busy scene with many parts feel very manageable. I love the warmth and the feeling of this reference, but I thought that there were too many things competing for attention, so I simplified it. I pushed much more of the scene into shadow. I reduced the number of flowers, I changed the handle, and I let the light become the main focus. Now let's build one simple decision at a time. I'm going to be using my black. I'm going to bring this black to the brown family by mixing some burnt umber onto it. So as always, I'm gonna start by wetting. Yes, I'm gonna make this a lot darker than my reference image so that there is a little bit more contrast. I am not using masking this time. I just wanna show you how, because some people have asked me, you can not use mask if you don't want to, you just have to be more careful. It's kind of black, but leans a little bit more onto the browns. In some areas, I'm gonna start bringing some burnt sienna too. Not that I wanted to go this light, I just, when it dries, some of that orangey will come through, but I still go back with my dark color. And once I have covered closer, I switch to a thinner brush, and then I very carefully go and do the contour of them. If you are interested on the paint alone pack, where you can have the tracings, the reference image, colors used, etc., is in my Open Studio and Patreon, and if you click on this QR code, it can take you there. But I will also link it on the description, pin comment, etc. As you can see, these parts I had to be very careful because this is part of the flower we are doing. Of course, if you want to put the masking, by all means do. Take your time, almost like negative painting, and then the handle of the bag will start to appear. And although these dark values are not the subject, it's setting the temperature and the mood so that the real subjects can stand up more. In my drawing, I did put quite a bit of detail for the door, and I decided not to cover it up. I'm going to leave that into the tracings. If you choose to add more detail, that way you will have choices. Into the tracings, they are in Patreon and Open Studio. We're going to take this painting right now out of the ugly stage. We are just setting it up for everything to stand up. I'm going to stay away from this part because it's a little bit more metal. With what it will be the underpainting kind of the door. Burnt Sienna by Winsor & Newton. I mentioned Winsor & Newton because it is more orangey than the other brands. But if you have a different brand, just add a little more orange or yellow to it. Okay. And now while I have this wet, I'm not going to put every crevices of the wood or nothing, but if I drop a couple darkers here and there, the same colors by the way, but I just go like this. That should give the impression of wood. All of these will be a cast shadow, so we just have to concentrate into this area here. Handle, I'm gonna start with an underpainting of my hands a yellow light. This will be our brighters. However, I have highlighter there that I'm gonna leave white. And I'm going to continue with putting the underpainting of my baguette. This is for the lightest areas. This is going to be Queen Gold. And an underpainting, I always go lighter than what I see in my reference. And while this is wet, I'm bringing the burnt sienna, and I allow these two to blend. You can tap with water if you want them to blend a little bit more. The newspaper, I just come in with a gray, whichever you have. I'm using actually leftovers from my palette. But if you want to mix one, then burnt sienna and French ultramarine are always a great way to use them, or diluted Payne's gray. The newspaper is not going to be the focal point. We don't want it to be the protagonist, so we're just going to suggest it. And finally, while I have my burnt sienna here, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the part that holds the bag as well. This will have to go dark, considerably dark, because it's all in the shade. But let's just put this underpainting for right now. Alright, so I'm going to bring a little bit of my permanent rose. So I wet a little bit and I bring that color. Obviously this will be in shade, so when I come back I will make it a little bit darker. Right now everything almost feels like copy paste, and that is because we haven't established shadows. We have something too dark and then we have something too light. That is gonna come up later, and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to paint the supported objects before we paint the main object. And which one is the main object, you will say? Well, our bag, of course. Yeah, so I go with for a lot of water and very little paint. More paint in the areas that are more in shade, less hit by the light. And this is making me like a map of where my darks and lights are also. At this point we have established the values and the colors, so it's time to start applying the details. We will save the bag for the very end, because once we have the baguette and the newspaper, then the folds of the bag will make a lot more sense. So let's start painting the door. So now I'm gonna come with the same color, a mix of burnt sienna and the darkness. So we want to have a transition, but we don't want to bring it all the way down. And then while I have this wet, if I put with the colors, the transitional colors, burnt sienna and the background, if I bring a couple like that, then it can give the impression of some wood. Since I have those colors over there, let's just bring a couple here at the bottom. I'm not going to bother with this. I mean, if you want to bring a little, you can do it too, but this is going to be another shadow. So let's work a little bit on this handle. I'm coming with the burnt sienna and light color of the we were using for that. I left a little bit of white. I'm going to wet. I'm coming with queen gold. Alright, so now I wet everything. Especially this, I want them to blend, and then come with the darker colors and start giving the 3D shape. And now I'm gonna wet a little bit of this part, and we're gonna get some of these darks out here too. Like if it's a brass or something like that, similar, and do the same thing at the bottom. We are allowing that to dry, so we're going to start moving out to another element. We're painting one at a time, and this in this case is the baguette, queen gold. I am putting enough variation for the crust to feel crusty. Let me put a little here in the inside. I want to darken this area a little bit more, so I'm coming with the burnt sienna and burnt umber. Put a little, then top with water. Just go turn slightly more. This is establishing a light and dark, but it's also giving us some shape to the baguette, like if it is turning. So all of this is going to be in shade, and then top. Some of these crusts are going to be more darker, so I bring in some of the color that I have for the background into this mix, and then go with a little bit of water, darken this up. Maybe a little next to it, but allows for some of that to show. This part over here is going to be darker because it's starting to get closer to our bag. And finally here I start with that color, and then I go with the background color, and this part is going to do two things. Starting to get inside, obviously, lift our flower and give the impression of the bag hanging. Some of the burnt sienna here, a little bit here, top with water, Then we continue to have some of the underpainting colors. It will not be all even. We bring some of the burnt umber, very little. This is still wet, so that should be enough. I mean, I'm having a small brush. This is my number 2, Escuro Perla. And then I'm gonna put a couple of these. And that's it. I mean, let's now move to our newspaper. We are not gonna put as many details as we did in the baguette, and for sure a lot less that we will put on the flower. This is not another focal point. This is not a main story. This is just a supporting role. So a few shadows here and there. I'm coming with the same grays, my palette gray, like once again, whichever you're using will be good. We're just giving impressions of a few folds. And I'm gonna let this dry a little bit more, and then we will put a glaze. But one thing that I can do is with the leftover colors from my baguette, I'm gonna put a couple of lines, pretend like if it is the maybe the newspaper lines being fold. Now I'm coming with green gold. I'm gonna separate a little bit, actually green gold with a little bit of olive green. We just get it slightly stronger and just kind of like the center of the flower. After I go with that, rinse, bring your water, tap. We're gonna put a few lines as if it is wood texture. I'm going almost with a dry brush, meaning a brush that doesn't have a whole lot of water. Looking like brush, really nice. So now we're gonna come with the darker browns. Start putting a little bit of detail, and we're gonna have a shadow. Probably will come around here. Okay, let's just finish this area here too, because it's bothering my eyes. This is queen gold, a little bit. I got a highlight, but the highlight needs to get darker in a minute. All of this I'm gonna wet, burn umber. And now I'm coming with the same colors from my background. And now I'm coming with a brush that only has water, and I allow these two to blend. This is a very soft brush, and all I'm doing is dropping the water. I am not dragging it. Since this is wet, I can take this opportunity to bring a little bit of that, break it up a little bit. So I'm picking up diluted, some of the leftover colors that I've been using, very diluted. And we're gonna put a glaze over this newspaper. And now I'm gonna let all of this dry. With the colors that are left over in my palette, the ones that I use for the baguette, I'm bringing a lot of water. The idea here is just not to make it a white bag. And then once this is dry, we will start with all the folds of the fabric. And now, of course, we let all of this dry. Okay, so same colors, but this time stronger, less water. And we're gonna go ahead and start making the folds. This one, and we may have to come and revise it. Be careful that I don't cover the tips of these flowers. A secondary one comes this way. Let's use a bigger brush for this big area. We're gonna go from more to less. So bring a little bit of water and light it up. We still want the shadow, but not as strong. And right now, they look like if these shadows are a little too strong. I have more chances that this will look too pale if I go, this is the right color right now. But if I leave it like this, once I put my cast shadows, they will look too pale. So I prefer to go a little bit darker, especially in the middle of the shadow. Now we will have one lighter one here. I may have to come and revise this to make it darker. We will see later. And we also have some here in the handle. I may have to come and revise this. We will see later. Let's start by, these handles are going to be in shape, but it's going to have a few highlights. However, my highlights cannot be that light. So I'm coming with the same colors that I was using for the folds, but a little bit stronger, and I apply them in a couple areas. Watercolor, sometimes we add color and sometimes we take it out. For example, with a little bit of water, then I take it away. I am not going to get it to white, nor do I want to. but I do want it to connect to the back. Just remove a tiny little bit more here, and especially this hard line. I saved the colors of my background. I'm gonna be using for the shadows of the handle. Bring it up. I want to leave a little line. It's gonna be lighter. Now everything is gonna start making more sense, because till this point everything was having the same amount of light, and it was giving the feeling of a copy-paste kind of thing. But now that we start putting shadows, and it's starting to be like this is coming out onto the light, and it's making more sense. Remember, when you are doing this, you are also doing the contour of the flower, so be careful and take your time. I have a darker area here, but I need to wait till that dries, so it's time to move to this one here on top. Now be careful, you have a lot of darks everywhere, so it will be easy to activate all those darks, and we try to avoid that as much as possible. With the same darker color, I'm gonna come this other way. At this time, all the elements are there, but they still feel a little disjointed. So let's just put the cast shadows and make a few little adjustments so that the whole painting can feel like a whole. Allow for this to dry, then we will put this other one. In the meantime, it's a great time to start putting these cast shadows. This is burnt umber mixed with neutral tint by Sminky. I'm putting it dark. I already have color underneath there, so very dark to the edge. Makes the baguette and the newspaper, which a little bit of that is going to come inside, stand up more. And then, with only water, I'm gonna start picking that up and bring it to the edge that I want, alongside the back and the newspaper. This is actually very, very rewarding, because you can see how all of these things start all of a sudden to make sense. Once again, I do one part and then darker, then rinse my brush, and then I start bringing it out a little bit lighter. Putting this dark so close to the light area of the back. We are bringing the back almost like negative painting, but we are also creating the contrast and anchoring it against the wall. The edges of my shadow here are not going to be even. I mean, for one, some of them is the newspaper casting a shadow, or it's also the wall that some of these are flat, this is standing up. So if you do this, then our eyes make more sense of everything that we are seeing. I start with my lighter color and the edge. This is burnt sienna with burnt umber. Now, a little bit more of the burnt umber. This part over here will be the darker. A little bit of the darker color goes there. And here, I don't want it to go too dark. Now I'm just gonna come with a brush that only has water, and I'm gonna blend. It's drying. It's not completely dry, but it's drying enough so that I can come, and if I apply some of the same color, it will stay put instead of blending with everything else. So one over here, just do another one right here. Okay. Now I'll let it dry completely. All right, so now we're gonna look and see. I'm not looking to add any more detail. I'm just checking to see that every subject supports the story without competing with it. Maybe I can go a little bit darker here. This petal will cast a tiny little bit of a shadow. So same colors and nothing major, just enough to lift the petal out and blend. I'm gonna darken this a little bit more too, just to add the extra contrast and bring the fold of the back closer. And actually, with the colors that we were using for this cast shadow, this handle will cast one. It's not flat against the baguette, so it will put one here too. Let's just add it. Okay, we're going to bring it a little bit with gray into the newspaper first. There we go. And then we're going to keep bringing it up. Just gonna finish it out by putting, this is thicker fabric, so we're gonna put a little bit over there. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of dark here because I wanna emphasize the weight that these objects are putting onto the bag. Nothing major, just a little bit. And I'm gonna go from more to less. Go like this and then just tap with water. And I think that I'm gonna call this done. The takeout of this painting is that we don't shy away from a reference picture that we like, but that is busy. Make one decision at a time, tackle one element at a time, and then little by little the whole painting starts coming together. The paint I'll unpack for this video is inside Open Studio and Patreon, where you can get the tracings, reference image, colors used, and the link for this video. I will link all that below. As always, I thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next video.